guys, Coach Gaglione here. This is another edition of our GAGS Goals Updates. This is our Road to 119 series. If you guys have been following along kind of since the beginning, so this is just kind of a quick recap. I'm Coach Gaglione, owner of Gaglione Strength. I've been involved in powerlifting for over 13 years. I am doing another competition in the 220 class. I've competed in every single weight class from 198 to super heavyweight. I've been as heavy as 340 pounds. On this particular day, I weighed in at 233 this morning. I'm finishing up my training for my next contest, which would be the RPS meet, Powerpalooza. I did this meet last year at 242. I had a really good result. I had 1,900 total, which is my third best total all time in poundages, and it was my best. I got my best Wilks score all time. Prior to that, I competed at Slingshot Record Breakers. I was able to up my squat, had a decent deadlift. I did bomb on the bench. I tweaked my right shoulder. If you've been kind of following along this current series, my original plan was to compete at this meet at 198 pounds. Life happens, travel happened, I was stressed, I got sick a bunch of times. I'm actually just getting over a little bit of like flu-like symptoms at the end of the training cycle, and I actually ended up hurting my other shoulder. Unfortunately, kind of tried to push through some things. If you watched a few episodes ago, I elected to get some kind of coaching and programming from our coach Benny, and between the traveling, the additional kind of volume in my bench shirt, I just think something kind of just kind of broke. You know, I probably could have done a better job of kind of preparing myself and just adjusting things. Going after the Arnold, we had a bunch of lifters compete at the XBC finals. I was very, very long days. I coached basically 3 days in a row, 10-hour drive there, 10-hour drive back. It was just very stressful. That was kind of in addition to some other trips. Like I said, I was in Virginia and California. So there was a lot going on, a lot of stuff going on. I'm working on some different business projects. I'm working on my third book. Some other things in the works for like some online stuff, which I'm excited for, but it's just been like a lot going on. I probably just bit off a little bit too much than I could chew, a bit of more than I could chew, put a little bit too much on my plate, so to speak. So those are some things I'm going to be kind of looking at moving forward, just to kind of plan out my competitions a little bit better. Maybe I won't do a competition around the Arnold anymore, so we'll see. I do like kind of competing in the springtime, especially in equipment, just so I don't have to be in my gear during the summer. But we'll kind of figure it out. So I'll have to plan out things a little bit better. I might have been like a little bit overzealous in my planning, and I tried to do my best. But anyway, so all in all, the cycle was really good, had a really good start, but the peaking phase, this has probably been my worst peaking phase to date that I can remember in a very long time. That being said, when I had my best meet ever, I had a similar situation happen where I kind of tweaked my shoulder, ended up taking a bunch of time off, and I ended up hitting my best total ever at 275. So I'm hoping for a similar result this time. So just to kind of recap, as far as I did see Dr. Albert. I have been doing some rehab stuff for my shoulder. He recommended I get some soft tissue work on my pecs, which I've been doing. That's been kind of pulling my shoulder forward a little bit, and also the scapular retractors and depressors are kind of a lot more weak on that side for whatever reason. So I'm not sure if I tweaked something, I strained something, or I tore something. I'm not really sure, but for whatever reason, that side is very weak. Any type of unilateral work, it's very apparent that my right arm is like firing on all cylinders, my left arm is not. It's really hard for me to engage that side of my lats on my left side. I did miss 2 deadlifts this training cycle, and that's because it did get away from me on that injured side. So it hasn't really affected my squat so much. If you watched my last squat video, I had a really good session. Very happy about that. But again, the shoulder and the benching has been a struggle. Just as a frame of reference, normally I would work up to a very easy last warm-up of 315 raw, and I've been kind of struggling to bench anything more than 255 since kind of injuring myself. So my strength is way down on that left side especially, but luckily I don't need to compete raw, so it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, but it is always nice to have that stronger raw base. You're always going to be a little bit better into the shirt if you're a little bit stronger raw. So on this particular day, I worked up to 255, put the slingshot on, did a slingshot set at 285, did a slingshot set at 315. And again, 315 is still moving kind of slow, and which is kind of crazy because I did 418 this cycle, and I've been kind of doing 385 for reps prior, so a little discouraging, but I ended up just taking another set in my loose black shirt, worked up to 365. Again, lockouts were starting to get a little funky and a little uneven, but was able to kind of stabilize the weight and hold the weight okay, and I was not in pain, so that was a good thing. Then I went up to 405. It was a little bit tough to touch, stalled a little bit. I kind of lost control of the weight a little bit, but I was able to press it up. So I'm going to probably open at 415. That'll help kind of push the weight down a little bit more. So I'm just going to, again, open in the low 400s. So at least I was able to figure out what my opener was going to be. I'm actually surprised I'm even able to touch that weight in that shirt, but I'm not really complaining. I'm happy it was able to touch. So from there, my goal is I figured out kind of what my opener was going to be. That was really my kind of goal going into this workout, because honestly, I really had no idea, and I was really stressed going into this workout because usually I have a really good handle on like what my openers are going to be, and having like a really good like plan a couple of weeks out from the meet, and I really had no clue. So that's always a little disconcerting, but that's part of being an athlete, is just figuring out like what you're going to be able to do for that particular day, and I definitely will have to listen to my body the day of and make adjustments accordingly. It's a little bit more challenging in equipment because you have to kind of factor in like, is this weight going to touch? Am I going to be able to hit this weight to a competition standard and things like that? It's not as easy. Like with raw, you can obviously open as light as you want, and you could usually, hit a competition standard. In the equipment, it's not. You can't just like open with 225 or something. It's not going to be able to touch in the shirt. So you can obviously go raw and stuff. But my kind of feeling with like taking like a token bench or like a raw opener, you're kind of like just almost anticipating yourself failing, and it's almost like a wasted attempt in my opinion. So unless you're kind of you're trying to save an all-time world record or something like that, I don't really see any purpose of opening raw. I think it's just a matter because you're kind of wasting an attempt, and you're kind of almost assuming you're going to fail. So my thing is just pick smart attempts and just get on the board, and then kind of go from there. So that's kind of like my mindset with that and my strategy kind of going into it. I understand there might be some cases where that strategy might apply, but that's kind of my general thoughts on that. You want to make sure, like for me, like I'm really trying to hit a total for this meet. I don't have a total at 220 yet, so really technically anything would be a PR. But that being said, I definitely still want to do the best I can. I don't want to waste any attempts. I want to make sure all my attempts count. So from there, I just wanted to get some work in. So I elected to go 435. So a couple of weeks ago, I actually missed 445. So I was really happy with how 435 moved. So I was really happy about that. So my first workout back from the Arnold, I actually missed 445, I think, to a one board. So very, very happy that I was able to successfully press 435. That felt pretty smooth. It was probably one of my better sets of the day. Then I went up to 465 to a 1.5 board, which is a weight I doubled in training very easily prior to the injury, but it's the most that I've had in my hands since injuring myself, so I was very happy with that. And again, my goal, I want to do a little bit of like an overload and just kind of feel some weight. I don't plan on going this heavy at the contest itself, but I went up to 495 to a 2 board. Again, a little bit of like, it's not my strongest lockout ever, but I was able to hold it and stabilize it, so I was very happy about that. So if I could hit somewhere between 455 and 475 at the meet, that'd be excellent. Put me in position for a big PR total, especially at the 220 class. So I'm looking forward to that. I think I might be able to get some more real estate on our record board, which is always good. Even though, like I said, on the equip side, it might definitely is a little bit easier than our raw numbers are definitely really, really elite, especially from, honestly, I mean, really all of them, but especially like, once we get to like 181s and up, it's a very, very competitive board to get on. So it's cool to get, like I said, even though I'm a coach first and athlete second, it is cool to, get some more, we say, like get a square, fight for those squares, and that's always a cool feeling to be able to get your name up on the record board, especially when you have a competitive team that you're kind of working with. Yeah, I did some slingshot work with the boards. I think with a 2 board, I think I just did a couple of sets at 315 with the slingshot to a 2 board again, which is nothing earth shattering, but I just want to get a little bit more tricep work in. And then I just did some close grip board presses at 225. After that, again, my strength is really down, so just trying to get any work I can in. My goal really honestly is just to get as healthy as possible going into the meet. I'm going to probably do like another speed bench workout. I did a speed deadlift workout today. And I typically take a week off. I will probably just do some light accessory work just to get some blood flow in and just kind of help stimulate the healing process a little bit more. I'm going to get a little bit of soft tissue work on Tuesday, and it'll be kind of rolling into the meet. So obviously by the time you watch this, that stuff will have happened already. And then, like I said, for a couple of goals going into the meet, I'd like to. I've mentioned this before a couple of times, but squatting 800 is definitely a goal again. I had that 800 last year. I had the 800 for record breakers. It was very, very close. If I can squat 800 this time, which I believe I should be able to, that'll be my 4th weight class I've squat 800 in, which should be a great accomplishment. And I'd like to kind of, if I could have like an 8 for 9 or 9 for 9 day, which is a tall order, especially in equipment, I think I could muster up knocking Louis Ban off the board, which would be fun. And I know he still has a long ways to go, and he's got a lot of potential, so I'm sure he will definitely catch me. But in the meantime, if I could knock him off on the board and hold him off for a little bit, especially being not 100%, that'd be great. So I'd like to total somewhere between 1900 and like 1940 or so. I think honestly, like if I could match what I did 1900 242 last year. So if I could kind of match that in a weight class lower, that'd be fantastic. But like I said, I'd like to squat something over 800. Bench is going to be like whatever I can muster up. If I could get something in the mid 400s, that'd be great. And deadlift, I'd like to end up somewhere between 650 and 660. Just based on, again, how my shoulders feel, and I'm probably going to be a little bit more conservative and maybe end somewhere between 645 and 655. But I would like to pull 660 at some point. If it's there, I'll take it, but I'm going to go for the total first. I'm not going to worry about individual lifts per se as much. I want to focus on building a big total. But if I could end, if I have a really good meet at that point and 660 is there, I'll definitely take it on the 3rd attempt, because that would put me at a triple bodyweight deadlift, and also tie 660 is my all-time meet PR. I had done 700 in the gym, but 660 is my best in the contest. So if I could tie that at my lowest weight class to date, that'd be pretty cool. So those are some goals for the meet, and then kind of afterwards, we'll definitely do like a meet recap video, and then I'm definitely going to take some time off from competing and just work on getting leaner and just getting my health in check a little bit more. We always talk about getting my health, and I definitely, my body's been kind of beat up. I've been probably competing a little bit too often for the amount of travel I'm doing. Even though I've only been competing a couple of times a year. Putting 800 pounds on your back, trying to run a business, trying to get leaner. There's a lot of extra stress there. So it's something to consider. So I probably need to backtrack a little bit. So maybe I'll only do like one full meet a year, and then maybe I'll do like, if I want to do a second, maybe I'll do like a single lift or a push-pull or something. But I think, like I said, I did the Super Training Classic. Even though that was more of a fun meet, I still, I still went really hard at it, and I think that could have potentially threw some things off, and it might have caused me to peak a little bit too early as far as my raw strength and everything else. So I probably kind of rushed the processing, and that might have kind of thrown things off a little bit. In my head, I thought it was going to help, but I think in hindsight, it might have been a little bit too much. And like I said, you only have so many of those big lifts in the tank, so it's kind of really important to kind of save those when it really counts. So even though that was kind of a fun contest, and I thought it would be like a good way to set up the stage for this meet, I think it might have been a little bit too much to really kind of push myself with the slingshot work and the conventional deadlift. And then also, like I said, I was coaching Garrison in Virginia, and then also the XPC finals, the Arnold. So that's kind of my goals for this meet. The ultimate goal at the end of the year, I would like to get into the low 200 range. I don't know when I will be able to compete in the 198 class, but it is the ultimate goal, so that's why it's called the Road to 198 Series. We still have a long ways to go. My body fat has definitely crept up a little bit. Even though my weight's kind of maintained the same, I've lost a little bit of muscle. I've put on a little bit of fat, not too much. One thing that that rang home with me that my business coach said, and I just think it's a good analogy, especially for people that struggle with their weight loss or struggle with any type of physical goal. You want to kind of take the mentality of like a shark. So like a shark, like the shark never stops moving. The shark always has to swim forward. If it stops, it eventually will die. So sometimes it might be circling. Sometimes if it smells blood in the water, it's going to go for the kill. But the shark actually never stops. So I think it's really always important to be kind of moving towards your goal. I think it's very healthy and it's good to have periods of time where you might be more aggressive in your efforts and your training and things like that, and your habits and your eating habits, and there are other times where you're kind of in a more maintenance mode. But I think it's always important to have your goals and what you want to accomplish in the front of your mind. So I know for me, when I was taking a little bit of a diet break, I kind of let myself go a little bit too far. And being someone that's kind of struggled with eating, like I said, my weight got as heavy as 245. And that really kind of like, it was almost to the point where I'm like, am I even going to make 220 now? So I kind of let myself go a little bit too much, like during the holidays and during the travel and things like that. So it would have been better if I was just a little bit more strict and stuck to the plan a little bit, instead of having to kind of have to dig myself out of a hole a little bit just to kind of maintain. So if you're always pushing forward and you're always kind of working towards something, that kind of puts you in the clear. So even if things do come up, at least you're kind of holding your ground, so to speak. So just some advice from me, because again, weight loss and this physical stuff, even though people may watch this and they may think these are great numbers and things like that, this stuff does not come natural to me. Just for context, like my first competition, like I squatted 375, I benched 225, so like, I'm not like some of these other, lifters that just had like unbelievable, big weights like out of the gate. It took a really long time to kind of progress to the level I'm at now, and I still have a long ways to go. But I have learned a lot along my journey, and I hope this information helps you along your journey. If you do like the content, please subscribe. Definitely check out the links below. Please support the channel by, like I said, if you could support by, whether it's coaching or any products that we have, even like leaving a review or telling a friend about us. It helps spread the message of strength, and it allows us to create more great content for you guys. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I really appreciate the support. Until next time, stay strong, and we'll see you soon.